Well friends, spring has arrived, and many of us might find ourselves eager to get our hands back into the ground and to get those seed packets out. Now, testing your soil might not be the first thing on your mind, but the food that we grow is only as healthy as the soil it's grown in. Today I thought I'd take you along with me outside because I am testing the soil around my home. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and I am finally getting the chance to do it. So I'm gonna take several samples. There's 5 samples that you can take in this kit, and then you send it off and they give you your results. So knowing what's in your soil is really important. I'll get into that later in the video in a little bit, but let's go ahead and just get this done. Welcome to True Freedom Permaculture, where we discuss natural living and how to have a green thumb, even if you weren't born with one. This is what comes in the lead test kit, and you'll see that it has different plastic bags for the samples, and on the top of the box I wrote down each place that I was sampling. And it turns out that when you submit your samples, you're also going to upload them and sort of label them online, so you don't have to do this stuff, but it was more for my knowledge so I could keep everything straight. So I would recommend doing that. So basically, I took these plastic bags, and they also gave me a red scraper, almost like a putty knife, and I would assume that that's more for if you're taking like an indoor soil sample and I don't know, they need you to like scrape part of the windowsill or something. I don't know, because I didn't do that. But here is what I'm doing is, for these I've got the bags and I'm labeling them 1 through 5 for each sample, and we're basically just going to take a small sample of soil. They said about I think it was 3 tablespoons or so in each bag. So that's what we'll need from each area. And the best way to do this is, and I'll show you in a little bit, but the best way to do this is to not just take it from one place, but you want to take it from several places within the area that you're testing. Now that all my bags are labeled, it's just time to go ahead and take the sample. So I went outside, I went to all the areas I had planned out and just went down the list 1 through 5. And as I mentioned before, I went to not just one place in each area, but several different places to take the sample. And that putty knife that I mentioned earlier actually really came in handy, because in order to take a proper soil sample, you kind of have to make these diagonal straight cuts, and it came in handy for that. So I ended up using that instead of my trowel, because my trowel kind of has a curve to it. If you had a straight trowel, then you could definitely use that. After I would take each soil sample, what I did is I put it into a clean bucket, and I repeated this process several places within each site, and then I mixed it all together within the bucket. And then obviously after I was done with one site, then I would have to clean out the bucket again to make sure I didn't contaminate the bucket for the next sample. I simply repeated this whole process until all 5 of my sites were done. This kit's really convenient because after you've collected all of your samples, you simply place them in the box that they came in, and you can send it in that same box back to the lab to be tested. You don't even have to worry about postage. It comes with a pre-printed postage stamp, I guess you could call it, that you affix to the outside of the box. It's time for a tea break, and I noticed that as the weather warms up here, I've started to crave more matcha tea instead of coffee, so that's what I've been making for myself lately.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly.
Let's talk about results. So after you send in your soil samples, it takes about 5 business days in order for you to receive your results back. And in the kit we used, they send you your results online, but you can request a PDF copy as well. And
it was a very, very worthwhile thing to get done, because then at least you know exactly what you're working with, because you either have a peace of mind that you are growing your fruits and vegetables safely, or you know that you need to take action steps. And on the extreme other end, it could mean that you need to replace your soil entirely. And I would definitely recommend this if you have small children around, because there just are their bodies are smaller and they're so much more susceptible to the effects of lead in the body, and they tend to put things in their mouth a lot and touch their hands to their mouth a lot. So they are, like I said, just extremely susceptible to lead poisoning. And you know, you don't necessarily have to panic when you get the results back that you have lead in your soil. So I will refer you to a government website. We like the EPA website, but they are going to, Environmental Protection Agency, for those of you that don't know, but they're going to sort of give you a spectrum of numbers. The lead comes back in units of parts per million. So for example, if you have a play area, they recommend that the general lead level is not higher than 400 parts per million, at least at the time of me filming this video. So that's kind of your guidance there. And then also, if they find lead in the soil, you know, it could be safe. It could, if it's higher levels, mean that you can't grow things like crops that have deep tap roots. So we're talking things like horseradish or carrots or daikon. And we know that there's benefits to these types of vegetables going really deep into the ground and drawing up everything that's in the soil. But that's assuming that you have healthy soil. If you have contaminated soil, it's not a good thing, and especially because you're eating the actual root itself. Now, the EPA did say that in these areas, although they may discourage you from growing taproot vegetables, you could grow other crops. So fruits, for example, would be okay in these areas up until a certain point, parts per million. So regardless, I think spring is a great time to get your soil tested. It's before you're starting to put things in the ground. If you want to be extra cautious, you could do raised garden beds. Those are a great way to control everything that your crops are growing in, and you know that you're putting the soil in there, and you can start with hopefully organic potting soil. And so yeah, if you want to be extra safe, then that's a wonderful way to go. Or if you find that you have lead in your soil that's too high in which you can safely grow crops, then do raised garden beds or do planters or even like containers. It's a great solution. So that is all I have for today, and I wish you all a year of happy and safe growing. I'll see you all again soon.